Hey everyone, Nabil here. I just wanted to talk about what I've been working on for the past week. So, I've been building a desktop app launcher. So, for those who aren't familiar, a launcher application is something like BattleNet, which basically just updates and maintains other desktop applications. So, essentially, you're writing the self updating code. It lives in this application, and then you can write other desktop apps, not have to worry about the platform specific self updating code. I'm interested in making this so that I can distribute my own desktop applications. So that's what I've been working on. Let's talk about building. So I wrote a couple of build scripts, and I'm on Windows, so these are PowerShell scripts. But basically, I have a script that I can just export my launcher app to the three desktop platforms, Windows, Linux, and Mac. And let me show you what the build kind of looks like. So you'll have this exports folder, and you'll have several folders. So first of all, you'll have three zip files. This contains the whole launcher app. If you've never downloaded and installed it on your system, you'd go to my website and download this, unzip it, and place it somewhere. The other three folders are for the launcher app itself. So it's going to check these folders for updates. Specifically, it's going to check a file called checksums.txt. So when it looks for an update, so what it's going to do is download this checksums file. It's going to loop through each line of this file, and it's going to compare it with its own files. So for this first file here, info.plist, it's going to first check, does this file exist locally? If it doesn't, you can assume, all right, we're going to have to download it. If it does exist, it's going to check, it's going to compare this checksum, which is a hash. And a hash is essentially a unique identifier for any kind of file. So if the contents of info.plist change and then you do a hash function over it, this hash is going to be different. So if its local files hash is different than the one that's online, that means that's another reason to download a new updated file. So that's like the heart of the updating of files. And so the build script, what it does is, of course, it's, I won't go into too much detail on all the code, but if I was going to key in on some important lines, here is where we're exporting the Godot. Godot is the game engine I'm using to make these desktop apps. So we're exporting it for each platform, which will give us the files. And then we're also generating the checksums here by going through each file and getting the hash for each file and writing it to checksums.txt. So after we build it, I have an S3 bucket that's behind a CloudFront distribution. So I just sync the bucket with all the files that I just built. So then we can move to the actual app. So it's about 200 lines of code. It's 234. It's not in a state to show you a demo. I'm kind of making things better at the moment. But maybe I can step through this and just, again, focus on some interesting components here. All right, so here's the check for updates function. So, and this is all GDScript, which is Godot's scripting language. So it looks very similar to Python. So check for updates. We make an HTTP request to the server to get the checksums file for whatever platform we're on. And then when we get the request, we're going to strip the edges. We're going to create an array of each line. And you'll notice here it's \r \n. Because I'm on Windows, their line breaks add that \r. And we have this loop here for each line in the checksums file. We do the two things that I kind of spelled out earlier. If the file doesn't exist locally, or the checksum does not equal the checksum or hash from the latest version, we're going to add these to download. So we push them to this array. Then we have our download updates function. It goes through all that array that I just built up of the files to download, and it creates an HTTP request for each of those, and it just downloads them. It also creates recursively any directories that it might need. So the way Godot's HTTP requests work is you can specify this download file property, but you need to make sure that the directories or folders exist beforehand, otherwise it won't work. So that's what we're doing up here. So once we download the updates, let's see. So once we download the updates, we are going to close the current running launcher app to restart it. And we do this for a few reasons. Well, yeah, there's some Godot specific reasons, which I won't get into, but another reason is if the launcher exe itself is an update, obviously we'll want to then launch that exe instead. So the way I set it up here is I download that new exe with an appended -new, so you know it's the new version. And then what's going to happen is we're going to kill or close the current running exe. We're going to delete the old exe, rename the new one to just the regular name, and then we'll launch that new updated exe. So there's a bunch of commands I have to build up for this. And the way I'm accomplishing this is through platform-specific shells. So on Windows, I'll be launching PowerShell, and on Mac and Linux, I'll be launching Bash. And through those, I'm running some commands to essentially close the current launcher exe. I have a check here because through some testing, I ran into issues where after closing, I couldn't then manipulate that closed exe file because I guess the operating system takes a little bit of time even after the command has succeeded. So we have a command to loop every 1 second to make sure that this process ID doesn't exist. Then we delete the old exe. We rename the new one to the regular name. If you're on Mac and Linux, we need to make this executable. And then we launch the process. So I have a bunch of helper functions to build out all these commands depending on the platform. And yeah, so it was kind of interesting to do some shell scripting. Although I'll be happy to have implemented this because then I can kind of step away from platform-specific programming and work specifically in Godot to build out desktop applications that I'm interested in building. So, yeah, as I mentioned, it's not I can't give you a demo at this moment, although it does work. But I'm doing some cleaning up. I'm also working on the UI right now. I'll be implementing code signing. So another problem is if you don't code sign your desktop applications, when you try and launch them on Windows and Mac specifically, on Windows anyway, your app will be seen as a virus, and then the user won't be able to launch it unless they like go to their antivirus and like give it an exception to run this. So yeah, I got the certificates. I just need to implement the code signing. And yeah, so that's basically a small update of what I've been working on for the past week. Yeah, hope to have a new update coming soon. Thanks for watching.